be free. I take the weight on my shoulders. As I feel the sky come down on me. And I can't hold it much longer. Gotta let go so I can be free. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Well, what's up? Frazier Friday. Just Braun and Todd Father for now. Word on the street is that Eric Kratz will join us soon, though. He just got knocked out of day 2 of the poker tournament at Borgata. We got a busy day, too. Kevin Pillar is going to join us in about 15 minutes. I know Kratz wants to try and get himself up and ready for that because that's one of his former teammates, I believe. Corbin Burnes later on. Ken Rosenthal is going to join us. And I want to start with this because we are less than 24 hours away. Todd Father's big Pong tournament, all for charity, going down. Obviously, you can't be in the tournament anymore. That sold out a minute ago. But you maybe can still swing by. Right?
Always, of course. There's
tickets?
Yeah, there's plenty of tickets. You could swing by easily.
Okay.
$35 to get in. There's going to be a lot of prizes, men and women. There's going to be a 50-50. There's going to be a lot of giveaways, a silent auction, a real auction, live auction, and, you can win some really good prizes. So all the money goes to Children's Specialized Hospital and the equipment that these kids need to get back on their feet. So it's going to be a really special day. And again, thank you guys for letting me talk about it here because it's going to be an awesome day. Everybody's anxious. Can't wait to get to it.
It's going to be fun. We got a lot of FT crew coming through.
Yeah, let's go. Maybe
we got some teams.
First, second, or third place get some really good prizes.
I like it. Are you going to be part of the auction, like the live auction?
We have a guy coming.
You have a guy who does it?
Yeah. We have a guy.
It wasn't going to be like you going, hey,
yeah, no. My voice will probably be gone by then.
True.
But yes, there's some really good prizes and hopefully some sports fans in there because they're going to want some.
Yeah, there'll be some VIPs in the house too. So make sure you swing by. It's in South Jersey. If you want more info, check out any of Todd's social accounts. And you can see, and some of ours too, obviously, as well. So, all right, let's charge the damn mound, shall we? Let's start with MVP winners. Shocker. Ronald Acuna Jr. and Shohei Ohtani winning it. And Shohei is he is a different cat.
He's show no.
He's show no.
I love it.
Show rejection. Okay. So he wins, and I think he went on TV for like a minute. But really, he hasn't spoken to the media in a while now. And then there's also reports coming out about the mysterious free agency that he will hold it against teams if his free agent meeting with them becomes public. Have you ever heard of that before?
This guy's got teams by the cojones. And listen, I don't know what goes on in this guy's mind. I've never heard of it before, but I don't know. I think I like it a little bit. I don't know. You feel like as a player, you feel like the team always has you by the cojones a little bit. Like, hey, this is what you're going to make. This is what you're going to do. You got to go to this appearance. You got to do this. This is the price we want you. If you don't like it, take it or leave it. Now he's flipping the script a little bit. But hey, you speak about anything that we talked about or it gets out of there, you're done to me.
Is this The Sopranos?
Hey, listen. He might have been here about an hour ago. We were going over. No, listen.
I'll give you more
very
context.
Interesting.
So Jeff Passan, did a big story the other day, and included in it was, quote, if there's one thing to know about Shohei Ohtani's free agency, it's that you're unlikely to know much about it until he signs somewhere. Quote, and this is from his story, if visits between Ohtani and the team are reported publicly, it will be held against the team. So the circles will be tiny and tight. I mean, that also hurts a recruiting pitch too. Think about it, right? Because last time around when he was going through that whole process, teams were like, hey, let me bring someone famous on, right? Like, let me bring some of the big players on and all of that. So now you're going to have to like send out this message. Even let's say you're the Dodgers and you're talking to like Betts and Muncy and Freeman and these dudes. And you're like, listen, though, if you blow this first, if you say one thing to your family, even he's not coming here. Like, what do you, if I'm say Freddie Freeman, I'm like, that's too much. Okay. I'm telling my family where I'm going today. Okay. This isn't the CIA. It's freaking baseball. Relax. Also, who cares? Why does it matter?
You think of the one side, you want other teams because then you can have that auction we talk about back and forth and like, oh, this guy, we just heard he wants $400 million. Well, now they're at $420. But what happens if somebody comes out, just say you're like, hey, reports have shown. I got an insider that says the Dodgers have been talking to him, and you might not the ownership might not even said anything. So what happens if a report just comes out and he's like, you know what? Forget about it. You're done. And they're like, yo, dude, I didn't say nothing, man. Come back.
Ready?
I didn't say nothing.
Dude, there could be a lot of layers to this, okay?
Yeah.
So first off, you could have a spy who finds out where he's going and then acts like the team leaked it out, and that hurts the team. Do you get what I'm saying? So here, I'll give you the example.
Go ahead, and then I have something too.
Okay. So let's say, the Dodgers and Giants, right? They're rivals in the West. They both want
For
him.
instance.
Okay.
Yeah.
For example, let's say there is somebody on the Giants side that leaks out to a reporter, because some reporters will take anything, and some are much more into their sources and checking things. But they go, hey, listen, Ohtani, he's talking to this team, and he visited them, and they spoke, and whatever. And then they report that, and then he goes, Dodgers, I told you not to say anything. Exactly. You're punished.
And on the flip side, how about this? They're going back and say there's 4 teams, just going back and forth. And he's like, you know what? I really don't want to go on this team, but at the same time, maybe I want to do something else. How about my agent? Call up Buster or Kirchin, whatever, and say, hey, listen, the Dodgers want him. And then he puts it out there, and he goes, hey, I told you so. Guess what? Told nobody to do anything, and it was his agent at the same time. So there could be some manipulation going on. There could be some traction. There could be some craziness. This guy, he doesn't talk to reporters, as we know.
For months. The last time he spoke to reporters, I believe, was August 9th. Yeah, let's show this. So from Sam Blum, who covers the Angels for The Athletic, Ohtani was set to take questions tonight from reporters for the first time since August 9th. However, after a 30-minute delay, the league announced that his conference call was canceled. The most mysterious free agency will remain that way. So he doesn't want to talk to media. Because also, let's be real. If they said, hey, we're having technical difficulties, I'm so sorry, but he'll talk to you tomorrow, I think everyone would adjust their schedule and say, okay, we'll do the conference call for the MVPs that we do every year tomorrow. But that's not getting rescheduled.
He's one of the only guys that can get away with this because of his stature. He's a legend. He's probably going to pitch again after down the road, or at least try to and see where it goes. He's one of the best hitters in the league. He's the most mysterious man on this earth. But
why? Like, I'm just curious, and it's fine, whatever. He's got all the leverage in the world. Yeah. He is a unicorn, and he's the best player in the game right now. But I don't know why we going to this extent. It's pretty.
There's got to be some underlying factor or something weird, because it's been going on for a long time now as well. So did he do this in Japan? We don't know. Is this just something that he doesn't like doing, or is it something like, I don't want to do it, then I'm not going to do it, and guess what? It's not going to hurt me in anything. So
I will tell you this: if you want to grow the game, both within the country and definitely internationally, accessibility is important,
no doubt.
So
I agree.
It would be nice to have a conversation once
every
something quirky 4 or 5 months with the media or whatever. You don't have to go up there and say, hey, let me tell you exactly how this free agent process is going to go. Let me tell you who likes me, who doesn't, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. That's wild to me. His puppy stole the show.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, that was real. We know more about the pup, I think, than we do about Shohei right now. So just saying. All right, let's get to some trades. So the Braves and White Sox did a little quantity for quality action, as Aaron Bummer goes over to ATL, and they've done a really nice job of picking up stuff guys, relievers, bringing them over and making them even better. Pierce Johnson, great example this past season. Joe Jimenez has been a good reliever for them now this past season as well. 5 players going the other way. Mike Soroka, who was a stud at one point, just could not get back on the field, and he was going to get non-tendered. Jared Schuster, who still a nice prospect. He kind of dropped a little bit down their depth chart. Nicky Lopez, who they acquired this past year. You play with Nicky,
in the USA
good defender, right?
Yeah,
sick glove.
When he gets hot, he's pretty darn good. He can play a utility guy. He could play a couple different positions.
He was going to get non-tendered as well, apparently by the Braves, due to make about $4 million. So he'll make that with the White Sox. Braden Shoemake, who actually had a really good spring training for the Braves, but the last 2 seasons in the minors hasn't hit well, and other guys have passed him. And then Riley Goins, who also has potential to at least be a decent reliever in the big. So thoughts on this for both sides?
I think it's an unbelievable pickup for the Braves, as usual. Finding, I feel like the Braves are the the Tampa Bay Rays of the National League finding these relievers. He's got length. I mean, Bummer's got this length, this crane kind of activity going on here when he throws. We talked about it before. He's got one of the nastiest sinkers from the left side. That if you don't stay on that, you're in trouble, whether it's inside or outside. You always need lefties. And as a reliever, this is a monster pickup for the Braves, and I think this helps them out moving forward. Now for the White Sox, I don't know what they do. They got 5 guys. Where are they going to put them? I mean, how are they going to do all this with what they have right now? I know Tim Anderson's not there anymore, so are they just going to have another whatever season? I mean, I don't know what they're trying to do. With
they're
these
trying to refresh the roster, and you can see. So Mike Petriello put up the numbers for Bummer, because Bummer actually had an ERA in the 6s this past season.
That's fine,
but his xERA was 3.5,
Yep.
Which is a pretty good indicator of what's going on there. You can look at FIP too. I mean, this was a guy. Also, if you want to just keep it more simple, look at his strikeouts were off the charts still this year. So you could say maybe a little bit of bad luck.
And he's a
the walks have
situational
to get
guy.
down there.
He's going to be the situational guy because they got a bunch of guys in the back end there as well. So
they wanted to pick up another lefty reliever. Stuff wise, though, like
Nothing
you
wrong
said,
with that.
this
nasty.
dude could be one of the best, and he was the 2 seasons before that. He was like a low 3 ERA. You know, so looks like a good pickup. And for the White Sox, they're trying to just freshen things up. It's the first trade for Chris Getz taken over, so I'm sure we'll get some more comments from our guys next week about it as well. Speaking of the Braves, actually, so they make that deal. We've got Kevin Pillar joining us on the other side. So let's hit a quick break, and then Mr. Pillar joining us next on FT Live. Also, let's hit our poll question real quick. By the end of today, Brandon Woodruff will be A, re-signed by the Brewers, B, non-tendered, or C, traded. We will know one of those. So predict for us. WatchStadium.com/foul territory. Be right back with Kevin Pillar.
Liked winning. Speaking of winning, Council won the manager sweepstakes. How do you feel about your guy, my guy, Craig Council, going to crosstown rival? I mean, you've been in the game so long, you've played for so many teams, you can't really have a rival. But I think if Sal Fasano went to the Phillies as the manager of the Phillies in a year, I think some of the guys on your team would be like, wait a minute. Sean Murphy would be like, wait a minute, wait. You're going where?
Yeah, I think, it's pretty cool. Me and Counts got along. We go back to Notre Dame when he was in Notre Dame and I was at the University of Evansville, and Murph was the manager. So it was funny. Like, we used to lead the league in bench clearing brawls. So that was a pretty fun experience for us. But Craig has done such a nice job, and I'm actually really happy for him. Just because, number one, he got paid. Like, good for you getting paid. I mean, you spend your whole life trying to be a coach or grinding or making peanuts compared to the players. Well, all of a sudden, now this guy's got a little bit more clout. So maybe we can start to give the managers just a little bit more power, credit. They always have power, but, you wish they would get paid more. I mean, if you're in it to get paid, you might as well get paid. I think going to a crosstown rival, I think, that would be tough for me to do, boy, if I had to go to Philly and play against my guys. But they all understand that's how the sport is. We all played on different teams. None of us were like the Derek Jeters that played with one team our whole life. But it was a weird situation. I don't blame him for going. But for him to go to Chicago, that was like, wow, you just went to your rival. So there's a lot of people in Milwaukee that are probably really pissed off right now. But I know the guys in Chicago will be really happy.
And now, back to foul territory.
Back on FT Live, Braun, Frazier, and I think Kratz joining us pretty soon too. But let's bring in our next guest making his FT debut in what looks like some great weather. Kevin Pillar joining us right now. What's up, man? How you doing? And where you at?
Off the weather.
Yeah, are you in California?
No, Arizona.
Arizona, nice.
Can't beat that.
Yeah, and the connection's clean too. So, how you doing, dude? How's the off season going so far? Any big plans?
Off season's great. No, just normal stuff. Full-time dad, carpool, staying busy, working out, building things, starting holiday decorations now.
I like it.
Yes. Wait, can I ask you?
Yeah.
When is it, like, because there's a big thing going on in my neighborhood right now. When is it too early to put up Christmas decoration or Christmas lights outside? Is there a such thing like, hey, you have to wait till after Thanksgiving, or are you one of those that's going up now?
No,
The
no,
lights are up already.
I'm flirting with it right now.
Yes, dude. I'm telling
I'm
you. dude.
definitely flirting with it. I'm putting the lights up. Doesn't mean I'm going to plug them in, but I am leaving on Monday to go to Dallas to visit my brother for Thanksgiving and my nephews. And then me and my wife are actually going to St. Lucia the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So I just want to be prepared. So when my in-laws get here to watch the kids, I'll tell them to plug them in. It will be after Thanksgiving. It will be legit, but I'm definitely flirting with being too early right now.
So listen, so my brothers and I, we've had this the last couple of years. It seems like my middle brother Jeff, he tries to win in everything, and he's like, "Yo, lights are already up," and he had it last year. This is last year. I don't think he has them up this year yet. We're putting our lights up on Monday, so it's right before Thanksgiving. But he had them up like November 5th one year, and he goes, "Up, beat you guys." I said, "Oh man," I said, "Dude, we got to slow down with that a little bit, dude. That's a little too early." I told him.
I mean, I love good competition, but I think that's something I'm okay losing at.
Because Thanksgiving, I think Thanksgiving's my favorite holiday because of family and everything else, turkey, stuffing, and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah,
what are you
I'm
gonna-
okay. I'm okay. I like Thanksgiving too because, like you said, it's a reason to get together with family. It's about sitting down, having a meal. But I kind of like the blending of the two holidays. I like
Mhm.
the idea of the winter season, the holiday season. So I think it's okay to, right around Thanksgiving is the time you can start decorating your house and putting your lights up. And especially if you're hosting, I think it's okay to, have your tree up and your lights up.
Yeah, I agree because you never know what fluctuates when Thanksgiving is. Now, let me ask you this: when do you start? When do you start like working out? Like, are you a guy like after Christmas? Are you starting now? Like, when do you start to hit? I know you're older. You're a veteran in the game. Has your routine changed? Talk to us a little about your routine, how you started, and how you're doing it now. Because I was always a later guy. I'd probably be lifting right now, but other than that, I wouldn't hit till real late.
Yeah, no, it's definitely changed. I think as I've gotten a little bit older, a little bit wiser, a little bit more mature, I've embraced rest. The season's long. You're constantly active, whether you play every day or you're coming off the bench. You're still on your feet. You're still active. You're still taking a ton of swings every day. So when I get home, I try to get away from baseball, for at least a month or so. I do enjoy working out. So, once I'm home and once I got the kids in a routine and once we're unpacked and unsettled, or finally getting settled back into being home after being away for a while, I'm fortunate to have a little gym at my house. So I try to get in there every day and move around. But I would say when I get back from the St. Lucia trip, I'll start getting with my running coach, and that will kind of transition to when I start hitting, probably middle of December, and obviously with the holidays, it's hard to be consistent. But I would say once the new year hits, I'm hitting 4, 5, 6 days a week, depending on how the body feels.
So, Kevin, we're going to add to this party now. Eric Kratz joining us fresh
Yes.
off a loss in day 2 of the big poker tournament at Borgata. Looking like he's got a lot of energy, though. Kratz, what's up, dude?
I'm so skeeted out. I'm like Kevin Pillar on a base hit to left, like just burning.
Hey,
I love it.
extra base hits are hard in this game. If you can turn a single into a double, I'm going to try.
especially with those little steps that you take. But so far, I was listening to the whole thing. So far, all I hear is you got big league internet, you got big league casa with big league weather, and you're going to a big league vacation with your wifey.
And some
And
big
you're
leaguers.
You're going to get your 10 years next year. But with all that, yesterday we had your uncle Sal Fasano, Uncle Sal, was on, and he might have given you the best compliment for a guy who had, kind of an average year, probably for you. Maybe, you feel like it's a little below average. The best compliment you could ever get. An absolute glue guy in the clubhouse. And to me, that means a lot because you know what? You can get some balls to fall, but you can't ever do anything about the way that your teammates and your coaches feel about you. So big props for that.
Well, I do appreciate that. Sal's a great guy and definitely a future manager in this game in my eyes. But I would say when I was kind of transitioning from being an everyday player to kind of a role player, a platoon player, I really had to think about what was important to me. And I think when I look back at my career 10, 15 years from now, I don't think anyone's going to remember Kevin Pillar from a statistical standpoint, but I think there'll be players that may tell their kids or other players about the type of player I was, the type of teammate I was, the impact I could have inside the clubhouse, or when I get a chance to play. So I think that's the greatest compliment for me. He could have talked about my skill set, but it wouldn't have meant as much to me as him talking about what kind of teammate and what kind of guy I am.
Hey, stats wise, you were part of the team Silver Slugger winning Atlanta Braves. So you were part of the best offense in baseball.
I'm hoping the Silver Slugger trophy is on its way, and in 5 years I'll tell my kids I won that on my own.
I love it. They won't know, right? It's
You won't.
like swinging bunt, single in the box score, whatever. So let me ask you about one dude that probably helped with that team Silver Slugger. Ronald Acuna Jr. just took the MVP in the National League. No surprise there. So a couple subset questions I have. One is, there were some people more on the number side that were like, oh, he's not a good defender. Like, he doesn't have great defensive metrics. You've been a great defender for years. You saw him out there. I watched quite a few Braves games. Am I missing something? Because he looks pretty good in right field.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a really good defender. Obviously, an unbelievable arm. Has the ability to kind of slow play some balls and force some guys into trying to take some extra bases and making up with the arm. But I think he is a really good defender. I don't fully understand defensive metrics and how they're measured in terms of analytics, but from the eye test, he definitely passes my eye test as a guy who is a good defender out there. Yeah, I mean, I know that's the knock on him, is that he's not a great defender, but sitting in the dugout, getting a chance to play beside him, I don't see anything wrong with this game out there.
So how crazy was it to play with him and watch what he did this year? And also, then I'm looking at him like, and you're now going to winter ball? Like,
I was actually I saw the announcement. Once we put the kids to sleep last night, I told my wife, hey, Ronnie won the MVP, and then I watched how he celebrated, and then I saw he was in full uniform running out to play a winter ball game, and I'm like, maybe that's why he's an MVP and I'm not an MVP, because he just loves the game so much. He wants to play year round. When the season's over, I definitely enjoy a break from the game. I enjoy missing the game. It's what drives me to want to come back year after year. But for him to be the best player in the National League and maybe the best player in baseball last year, to go out and play winter ball games in Venezuela, in his hometown, is just is wild to me. It just shows how much he really loves the game. And maybe if the game was that easy for me, maybe I'd enjoy it more too.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think it's so hard for me, and when I play them, I just want to get away and not come back until it gets warm again. But
yeah, I think for most of us, I think that's kind of how we all feel. Baseball was as easy as he makes it look, and it probably is easy to him. Why wouldn't you want to keep playing? I mean, that's
no doubt.
that's like me getting up in the morning and going through brushing my teeth. If baseball was that easy, I would probably be playing right now too. But there's such a mental and physical grind on me that when the last out is made, I am like, I need to get away from this. I just used every ounce of physical and mental capacity I had for the last 8 months playing this game, that I need to recharge.
Yeah, you've played for some really big time cities, man, over the years. What has been the best city so far for you? You think you would say? I mean, going from San Fran, Boston, Colorado, New York. I mean, you played in a ton. L.A., Toronto. What's been the most exciting and the best you've been a part of?
I mean, there's so many different ways to answer that question. As far as probably my favorite's still going to be Toronto. I mean, that's the team who drafted me. I played majority of my career there. Played there during a pretty special time in Toronto baseball history. Going almost 20 years without getting to the playoffs, and then winning a division and getting to the ALCS, and just kind of watching that city come alive was nothing like I had ever seen in baseball. Um, and obviously, living there pre-kids, there's not a better place to live in baseball. Being able to live, walking distance to the stadium, and not needing a car, and just having just such an amazing city with so much to do and such good food, and there's always something going on in that city. When I was there this year, I thought about what it would be like to go back with a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and it would still be pretty cool, but there's definitely some challenges, living in the city. But all things considered, Atlanta's a pretty awesome place too. Such a livable city, such an unbelievable fan base, an amazing stadium to play in, great weather. Atlanta was definitely up there as one of my favorite places to play. And San Francisco, I don't think there's a more beautiful ballpark in all of baseball. That was exciting for me. Even though I grew up a Dodger fan, so getting a chance to play for the Giants and be part of that rivalry was something I could only dream about being a kid. And my wife being from Northern California also helped. With her being able to drive home an hour and a half, when I went on the road, and it took our daughter home. So that was a pretty awesome place as well.
KP, it would have sucked if you had kids living in Toronto. When we were in the six together and I scored as a pinch runner on one of your base hits.
No, dude. That was my first ever walk-off hit. I wanted to bring that up.
I know, and I scored.
And you pinch ran, maybe, I think.
And I scored for you.
That's how fast you are.
I did pinch run for Deanna Navarro, so there was that. And then we played in San Francisco together. And enjoying Toronto, I think it'd probably be much better with kids. I mean, without kids. Without kids, walking around and everything, you gotta shuttle kids, try to figure out how to get food. Do you think during your time in Toronto, you were undervalued in the sense of like what you were doing in center field, and then boom, they fire you, they send you out, and then 6 seconds later they give Randall Grichuk a contract that, to me, in my opinion, I thought was yours because of all you did in the city, because of how you played while you were there, and you played a premium position at a premium rate.
Randall lives right down the street from me. You're not too far away. He's a friend of mine. I mean, I think there was a point in my time when I was on that flight, and he signed that deal the same day that I got traded. I felt maybe the same way that you're expressing, like, that was the money that was maybe set aside for me from what I was able to do. I think it's a tough question to answer because I think value is an interesting thing to try to determine your own value. But I like to think that what I was doing there helped our team get to back-to-back ALCSs. I don't know. It's a tough question to ask. I'm happy with where I'm at in life. I think we all kind of come up in this game hoping that we're going to get that massive payday. We're going to get to sign a long-term deal, get to establish roots in a place. And Toronto is a place that I definitely saw myself playing my entire career, if not majority of my career. But that wasn't kind of my baseball journey. My baseball journey's been interesting to say the least. It's not exactly what I would have probably envisioned when I kind of established myself as an everyday baseball player for the Toronto Blue Jays. But with bouncing around from team to team, it's given me an opportunity to play for some pretty amazing organizations, meet a lot of great people, make a lot of great friends. So I'm not unhappy with my life. Would have life in baseball been a little bit easier if I would have found security maybe earlier in my career financially, and also a commitment from a team, maybe, but I'm not unhappy.
Yeah, because you came up, you and I, we used to argue about the fact that who was the 25th man on the roster, because Tolley was the 24th man, and he had a secure position for the innings that Dickey had a pitch, and then it was you getting shipped out, me getting shipped out. In your time, you talked about the two playoff appearances that you made. Do you feel like you guys should have won a World Series there?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I feel that same. I feel the same way about this year too, with what we were able to accomplish with the Atlanta Braves. I felt like showing up in spring training this year, looking around at the talent, and then kind of watching everything fall into place, winning 104 games. Definitely felt like we were going to be the last team standing, but it just proves how hard it is to win in this sport. It doesn't, and this sport is great because it doesn't necessarily reward the team that was the best team in the regular season. It rewards the team that gets hot at the right time, and I think it's a great thing for the sport. It allows teams that are in the mix at the deadline to go out and try to add teams. It's not about winning 104 games. It's about getting an opportunity to play in the playoffs. And I think you saw with a team like the Rangers that, clinched their playoff berth on the last day. The Diamondbacks clinched the playoff berth on the last day. It just shows getting in and getting hot at the right time could take you really far. But yeah, Toronto felt like that 2015 season where, it started in the off season with getting a guy like, Russell Martin to sign on, trading for Josh Donaldson, and then the additions you make at the deadline, Ben Revere, Troy Tulowitzki, David Price, the buzz that was in that city, the electricity that was at the games. And I just never been a part of a team until this year where every time you stepped on the field, you just felt like you were better than the other team and that you were going to win. And if we lost, we had to play our absolute worst and the team had to play their absolute best. And there wasn't this feeling like, can we win tomorrow? We just knew that we were going to win tomorrow. And that was the 2015 Toronto Blue Jays. And I think that even showed itself going down 0-2 in the playoffs, going down 0-2 to Texas. I just felt like that was the mindset of the team all year is we're better than any team we were going to face. And it didn't matter if we lost the game before the next game. We knew we were capable of winning every single time we stepped on the field. And I definitely feel I've had some time to reflect after, not advancing this year. And I still feel like the 2015 Toronto Blue Jay team is still the most disappointing loss that I've had, not winning a World Series.
So you brought up Josh Donaldson, so I want to bring up something back in 2016. If you remember or recall, you know how Josh had Josh had a big mouth to him, which is a good and bad thing to him. And he brought up to me during batting practice about talking about who's going to hit more home runs that year. So, Josh with his big mouth, hey, I'll give you 20 homers, and then he actually came down to 10. We made a friendly wager. And do you remember what I did the year after I won that friendly wager?
No, remind me.
So when you guys were stretching, I went right into the stretch line, and you're like,
oh yeah, you asked him for his check. You asked him for the check. Did you ever get paid? Did you ever get paid?
Yes, I did. And that was really nice of him. And we talked. I just remember you were like, "Oh, he's looking for it." I remember you were yelling. I was laughing so darn hard.
Josh is a good friend of mine now. It definitely took us some time of being apart from each other to really kind of mend our relationship, our friendship. I think we're both just really competitive people. We both challenge each other to be great. Obviously, he was much greater than I could ever be. But I think we push each other to be great. I think he saw a lot in me, and I think he wanted the best for me. That led to a lot of confrontation, a lot of fights, a lot of arguments. So who knows that day you came out looking for your check if we were on good terms or bad terms, and it could have turned ugly real quick. But having Josh in the clubhouse always kept things fun, kept things interesting, kept your head on a swivel all the time because you never knew what kind of mood he was going to come in. But I was thinking about I've been thinking about him a lot lately too because I got an opportunity to watch him win MVP and then watch an opportunity to watch Ronald do it, and they kind of just did it in two different ways, but two just unbelievable talents, and it's amazing to. Another thing that I'll probably look back in my career, 5, 6, 7 years down the line, and reflect on the chance I got to be part of, two guys winning MVP seasons and just watching just dominance from spring training through the last pitch of the regular season. Both those guys were dominant. and it was fun to watch.
You got a fly buzzing around your face like it's terrible. It's bugging me. I can't handle it. Oh, nice
catch it.
Stanley. Is that a 40,000? Is that a 40-ounce Stanley? Did you steal that from your wife?
It's part of the dad starter kit.
That is not. That is. Your wife is pissed. She is like, "Where is my Stanley? I got to fill it up with a smoothie." And it's a left-handed Stanley. What's the deal with that? Anyway, have you watched? You're a Cali guy. Have you watched what's going on in Oakland? And what's your opinion on what's going on there? That they're going to be taking a team out of there to a market that's smaller than Milwaukee.
I think I got mixed feelings about it. Obviously, I feel bad for the city of Oakland. I feel bad for the fan base there. I think it's hard for maybe people to realize, just because we think of the Oakland A's, their recent history of not being a very good organization, a very successful organization, but that team has a ton of history. I know it's multiple World Series. I don't know exactly how many they have off the top of my head, but I know that there's a lengthy history of winning in Oakland. And I was there earlier in this year, and it was really sad to witness. There was maybe 5,000 people there, maybe 4,000 Atlanta Braves fans, and the 1,000 fans that were there that were Oakland fans were chanting "Sell the team" the entire time, and it was tough to see. And I think part of me is excited for Vegas to get a team, because I see, how successful the WNBA franchise has been there. I see how well the NFL team draws there, and obviously Vegas is an unbelievable city to go visit, for fans that want to come in and watch games, for players to come in as visiting players, and even for families that are going to get a chance to live there and be part of the organization. But I got mixed feelings towards it. I'm excited to see a new stadium be built and what kind of support the A's get in Vegas. But I think there's a lot of unknowns. Are they going to rebrand? Are they going to keep the A's name? Are they going to keep the history? Or is that going to be an organization that do the A's die in Oakland and it's just a thing of the past?
If they're smart, they'll rebrand. In my mind,
I think you should.
I think you leave the Oakland stuff in Oakland, let Vegas at least feel like, despite the owner, at least feel like it's a different team, which is what the Knights did really well. Mr. Pillar, awesome to have you on, dude. Enjoy the sunshine and the dad starter kit, and the whole skit. And Kratz, you want to say see you later to your dude?
Hey, guy, I used to pick you up on the way to the field. Okay, I don't know how you survived without me when I was not picking you up, but I'm proud of you, bud. You've come a long way, and you've had an absolute baller career. And next year, when you get your 10 years, I expect you to come back on and celebrate with the boys here.
I would love to come back on. Hey, what was the first thing I sent you when you texted me?
Oh, you said it's been. What'd you say? It's about time. I mean, this is a different issue, and I told you we've been asking for you, but that's my fault.
I'm a big fan of the show. Big fan of you, obviously. This is great. You guys are making baseball fun again. I love it.
You're the best.
Thank
kid.
you.
Appreciate it.
That means a lot. Thank you, Kevin. We'll keep hustling every day. You too, dude. Later, man.
Later.
All right. We'll be right back on FT Live with a little more insight on MLB Perfect Inning. So Scott, I wanted to get your thoughts here on what today means for the city of Oakland. If you think, Oakland will ever be able to have a baseball team on its own again, and even obviously your thoughts on how the brand, that's my big thing, will be received in Las Vegas, because you said it. I mean, he's known. John Fisher has made himself a name in all of sports. He is maybe the top villain in the North American professional sports. Nobody wants him. And I think fans that are going to be pushed over to him are going to be like, why am I rooting for this guy to succeed?
I can't believe that Las Vegas is celebrating this because obviously Las Vegas would like to have a baseball team, and they probably deserve one, and they probably could support one. But a John Fisher baseball team is a whole different thing. It's just a recipe for disaster. He has promised the people in Las Vegas, and they're taking him at his word, that if he is able to build a ballpark there and they help him, that he will start paying a fair major league salary, a payroll. And to take John Fisher at his word on something like that is lunacy, because he's showed every step of the way that he's not going to pay a major league salary. It's a what comes first, the chicken or the egg? So is he going to pay a major league salary once the fans start flocking in? But the fans aren't going to flock in if he's got a crummy team. So it's just. I'm sure Las Vegas would love to have a team, but they would much, much, much prefer to have an expansion team. And I think that's where Oakland stands right now. They'd be much better off with one of two things: either an expansion team, or the A's coming back to Oakland after they fail in Las Vegas, and without John Fisher after he sells the team.
And now back to Foul Territory.
A little look at our
Hey guys,
friends
how's it
at
going?
MLB Perfect Inning and Mac Bunnag joining us right now. Super Gamer, how you doing, Mac?
Good. Thank you for having me, guys.
Of
I'm
course.
very
He
excited to
looks
be
like
here.
Yeah,
He
we're
looks
excited
like a
to have
gamer.
you. Yeah,
he looks like he's ready to rock right
the
now.
hair
Look at
is tight. I like it.
I had to get the
Looking
fresh
good.
cut, I had to look good for you guys. So
Hey,
thank you,
you
thank you. I
nailed it.
appreciate
You
it.
nailed it. And you got to look fresh for awards week too. So let's tie that into how
Exactly.
that's been a big week for you for Perfect Inning. Give us the lowdown.
Yeah. So we recently just launched a few new cards. It's the MLB Awards winners and also the MLB Awards contenders. And so essentially, we are releasing new player cards right now, and we're starting off right now with the Golden Glove winners, also with the Silver Sluggers, and so we just released that batch. It's really cool. We got all the players, all the winners from that in the game right now, and then slowly but surely we'll be adding on more content. Moving on to Cy Young, also the MVP. So that'll get released shortly in time. But yeah, it's no, it's really cool right now. We also just launched a new feature called the PI Championship, which is essentially a tournament system within the game, and just allows you to play with multiple people. Like I think over 1,026 players essentially, which is really cool. And yeah, it's something definitely to check out.
I like it. So let's show off some of these player cards while we run through the awards, and really let's just look at the AL and NL MVP. I'm not going to be like, whoa, are you surprised? I mean, this was probably the most like book it lock of an MVP race that we've seen in a
Yeah.
while, with Ohtani and Acuna both unanimous. So, we can show their cards, but I'm also curious to get your take on the guys below Ohtani. Like, let's start there. The Texas Rangers end up winning the World Series, right, Mac? And you have
Yeah.
Corey Seager and Marcus Semien finishing 2 and 3 in the race. So,
Mhm.
yeah, you can give us a little bit on how fun it's been to not only watch Ohtani, but play as Ohtani, but then also what you thought of number 2 and 3 on the list.
I mean, it's cool because Otani is actually one of the like two-way players that we have within the game. And I'm just honestly just stoked that Otani won the MVP, for the second time. So, I really like Otani. So, I was cool and happy with that. But yeah, as far as like with the other players, essentially what we'll be doing is adding them on not only as MLB award winners, but we'll be putting them in as the MLB contenders as well. So there's two separate cards essentially, and basically you have one for the winners, one for the contenders, people that could have made it basically.
So my question to you is, as a new guy into this game, I've been talking to Scott a lot about, like, you see stuff, it says player value on there. I saw Shohei was like over 300,000. We got 45,800 for Simeon. Like, you could buy these guys, right? Right or wrong?
Yes, yes, yes. So essentially, we also have a player market within the game, and essentially, users are able to, if they own a card, whatever. There's different boosts and ranking levels for each player, and you can put it up on a market, and essentially, other people can buy it, and it's cool because the prices will fluctuate, depending on supply and demand, essentially, and so. Um, yeah, I mean, it's one of those cool features within the game that like you just got to check out. But yeah, the player market is really cool. Everyone has their own pricing or their own value essentially.
Well, let me ask you this: how did like explain it to me again? It's 45,000. It says there to buy. Like, how do you add up and get all the money to do that? It might be naive. I'm not 100% sure how that goes. You know what I mean? Like, say I wanted to buy Shohei for 309. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
how do you rack up the points and the money?
So essentially, I mean, you just there's different modes within the game. So you can play single battle, you can play sim action battle where you're just going against other users. But we also have a season mode where you can just play the whole full on season, and through those games and modes, you basically collect these golds, you collect rewards, diamonds, and so forth, and that just
Nice.
basically helps you build up your team deck. Essentially, you can there's so much
So
within the game.
I got to start getting after it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, no, but that was a good
Yeah,
great
you gotta set the
explanation.
grind. Yeah, you
Yeah.
gotta.
Hey,
It's a
my wife
grind,
and
man.
kids. I'm gonna tell my wife and kids, leave me alone for a couple days. I'm gonna get after it.
I gotta
Winter
go do
time's
this now.
perfect for it. What do you got, Kratz?
Who has the most value in the game, Shohei or Acuna? You know I had to ask that.
Honestly, I haven't checked that out yet right now, but I would say Otani right now. I would say
Yeah.
Otani. Yeah,
Even though he's injured.
yeah, that's true. It's gonna be an
Yeah, but
interesting
that's the
season
life
for
of a
next
video
year.
game.
Yeah.
You
Come back.
can
It
wipe
don't
that
matter.
off for now and play as the real
Yeah,
Ohtani, right?
yeah,
Pitching and hitting, like you said too.
exactly.
And my thing with someone like Seager is, I bet you he'll be a hot commodity right now because of his team winning and his clutchness, right? And he's not a guy that speaks much to the media. He's pretty quiet.
Uh-huh.
He's kind of just does his thing. You could make the case. I think Kratz has called him like a bot, basically, right? He's just a hitting machine that just goes up there and hits dingers. And when
Yeah.
you need a clutch at bat, he's there for you. And he swings at most things, but there's nothing really, there's not really any weak spots in his game. So do you think that with all of this over the past month and a half coming to fruition for him again, a clutch performance in a postseason, it makes him much more popular in this world?
Um, Wait, could you repeat that again? Sorry.
Is he a much bigger deal, like for people to try and acquire someone like Seager now, based off what he's coming off of, right? Off the season and the October that he just had, the postseason that he just had. For a guy who's quiet, like Acuna is flashy. He's
Yeah, yeah,
there, even if he has a bad game. If Corey Seager goes
yeah,
0 for 4, you'd be like, oh, I didn't even know he was playing today.
yeah, yeah. It's hard to say. I don't really know how to answer that, to be honest. But um, I think Seager, um, he will. I don't know. Never mind. I can't. I think
No,
he'll
well, I mean,
eventually.
here, let me rephrase it for you, Mac. Like,
Yeah, can you
can you
rephrase that
tell
question? Sorry.
who's the most popular player right now, like that people are trying to acquire?
You can check within the market. They'll show like a
Yeah.
supply and demand basically, and they'll show you like, okay, this person, this player, whatever, is basically, in demand right now. And so from their point, you can almost essentially bid and buy out the players if you want to. So, do I think Corey Seager is going to like improve in his like value per se next year. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think that's literally just depending on the supply and demand of the users itself. Like they set that essentially for them, you know. So
Yeah, product of the market. I like that. All right, so let's finish with
yeah.
this. Best experience you've had within the game ever, or at least over the past year? Like, is there one memory that you've had or one feature, something that stands out to you that you really enjoy?
I really just enjoy beating my coworkers within the game and just talking
Let's
smack. So
go.
that
So
is
the
all.
head-to-head?
I love that. Yes, exactly. When you challenge each other, I just love the competitiveness of it because there's so much within the game itself, and so I'm a pretty competitive guy. So just I just like to rub that in whenever I beat them. So that's one of my. I love that.
Are you
So.
winning more than you're losing and talking a little trash at work?
I always talk trash, but I do tend to win more, so
There you go.
yeah, yeah.
I like it.
Um,
Well, Mac,
yeah.
stay strong, man. Keep crushing it. Keep having fun with the game, and thanks for enlightening us a little bit. Todd Father's going to go
Thank,
beat up on maybe people around town, some of his buddies. Oh, why don't you download this and then
Let's go.
see what happens?
thank
Kratzy,
you so much. Thank you
your
for,
ass is grass. Let's go.
Thank you,
but
Mac.
thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Great to have you on. A little more info on MLB Perfect Inning 23. Free to download. Scan the QR code on the screen right now, bottom right-hand corner, or you can look it up in the App Store, whatever kind of phone you got. Game features include what Mac mentioned, the real-time gameplay against your coworkers, your friends, anybody with your club members. Various MLB legends, updated team unis, rosters, and more. We're swinging back on FT Live with some poll results, and get ready for Ken Rosenthal and Corbin Burnes in a big hour too. Franchise, just your reaction or thoughts to the news that it's pretty much official now that they'll be departing the city of Oakland, which is a large market and a very devoted fan base that didn't have a legit ballpark or team the past several years.
Yeah, you guys were, I was able to eavesdrop in on your conversation before I got on, and I think the fans of Oakland were so loyal to the A's that it would be almost heartbreaking for that community to lose it. Obviously, the ballpark, it's really turned into a tough place to play because the conditions, the facility, the field is still immaculate after all these years, but the stands, it's kind of a tough place to come back and have all those memories about when you played there. You're like, God, I don't remember it being this bad. But it's actually in poor condition. I wish they would have done a better job maintaining it or at least upgrading it, doing better things. I think because when I got to the big leagues, 95, 96, they still had the old ballpark, and then they did all the renovations to it. And I was like, oh, okay, but really have to keep up with the times. It'll be a shame for Oakland to lose a team. I know they lost to Raiders. I think it'll crush that fan base there, and they'll almost become resentful. So whether or not they jump on San Francisco's bandwagon or not, I don't know. But I really think that there's just going to be some upset baseball people that'll never watch baseball again because of it. As for the Las Vegas community, we had a AAA team in Las Vegas. And I know they've been begging for baseball for a long, long time. And you see what the Raiders are doing and how beautiful that facility is. You hope it'll work out. But I think what AJ was talking about earlier makes a ton of sense. It's going to take them 3 years to build a ballpark. And it's going to be miserable for that team to get free agents, to sign long-term deals, to get anybody to even come play over there if you're going to play in a AAA stadium or a AA stadium or an A-ball stadium. So there's really a lot of challenges that are a little bit above my pay grade, but I really feel bad for that organization and for the people that are big Oakland A fans. It's tough, and I got one of my catchers there, Shea Langoliers, and I want him to have a ton of success. But it's hard if you're going to be playing in that place without really the ability to get better over the next couple of years.
And now back to Foul Territory.
Live fam, $1,500 first bet offer is on when you use the bonus code FOUL for new users on the BetMGM Sportsbook app, or when you hit up betmgm.com and sign up and deposit at least $10 into your account. Place that first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. And if that happens, your bonus bet will be available once your initial wager is settled. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Poll results. Big Woo, is he going to be re-signed by the Brewers by tonight, non-tendered or traded? And most people are saying they think he's going to get traded just based on the money situation. Should be super interesting to see because, hey, I would invest in Brandon Woodruff coming back and doing some damage if I was a team. And we'll talk more with Corbin Burnes about that in the second hour. Mr. Kratz, this is your time to let us know how your experience was before we get into the hardcore baseball combo with Kenny Ballgame and Mr. Burnes in hour number 2. How you feeling after the poker tournament? And thank you for jumping in like freaking, like you were like AJ at the All-Star game drinking and then they needed an at-bat from you.
That's what I did. I definitely hopped in for the pinch hit here. Man, if you followed the socials, I was everywhere in the first day because a lot of guys were playing very the whole live shtick. The dealer wasn't saying, who raised or anything. It was just guys would throw stuff in, guys would say nothing. One guy was hiding his cards, so I had no idea. He still had, so I went out, turned so the first day didn't feel great. Today, way better. Today I had a lot of fun. There was guys at the table. One guy afterwards came up to me and he's like, man, that was a bad beat at the end. I was like, yeah, I had a good time. He goes, man, good luck in the rest of your tournaments, man. I was like, I don't know how many more I'm going to be, but I would do it again because I learned a lot more. So it was exciting and it's just an awesome event that they put on for me and treated me like gold. So I'd do it again for the same shtick.
Yeah, I like it. We got to get Todd Father in there. He's itching to get in a tournament. The thing is, I want to eventually get a bunch of you guys together and
we can
open up the mics.
We can do it right up here if we want.
We should open up the mics and let's talk through it because that's the good stuff. And Kratz is right. We got to bring some more personality out of some of the
I want Kratz
the poker pros
so bad.
Be right back with Corbin Burnes.
So I can be free. I take the weight on my shoulders. I feel the sky come down on me, and I can't hold it much longer. Gonna let go so I can be free. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
What's up? Hour 2, FT Live. Still a lot of news to cover. But also, as Eric Kratz wasn't with us for the tippy top of the show, Kratz, I'd love to get your thoughts until Corbin Burnes shows up to the party on the MVP winners last night. So my 2 takeaways were, because obviously the results are boring. We knew they were going to win a while ago. My 2 takeaways were Ronald Acuna Jr. is playing winter ball. That is wild. And Pillar was cool to mention how, I guess when the game's that easy for you, it's fun. You just go out and play like it's nothing. But I'm just curious for a sport that's so helicopter parenty about so many things. I think Alex Anthopoulos is less like that than most other front offices, but still, he's probably got to be sitting there, some nights going, hey, text me how Acuna does, okay? I don't really care how he does. Just text me that he's okay.
Make sure you got
okay?
home.
I just want to know he's okay. So yeah, let's start there. I mean, this dude loves the game so much that he goes right to Venezuela to keep freaking playing in the offseason. He's the best player in the National League this year.
He is the greatest showman on earth. To go out and hit a little just right of center field dinger last night playing in winter ball, like I think it's amazing. But I hope, this is my hope, because the dude is going to command a king's ransom. If they tell him, hey, Ronald, I know you really love playing for the Tigres, but can you not play? Like, we want you to be a hunch for the season. And he goes, okay, extend me, Poppy. And they're like, well, we might not extend you. He's like, I'm going to go hit a dinger on the day I win the MVP award. Like, this dude is playing at a different level than everybody else, except for Shohei. Had to add that in there.
You did have to add that in there, man. Come on, dog. Hey, I don't know how he does it. How does he have the energy to keep playing? They all do it. It's nuts. They all do it. And I'm sitting back like, God, Kratzy, I don't know. I mean, I don't know about you, but I might have played 4 years in the big leagues if I did that. That's my whole
You
career.
had to play
right
through
there.
the winter,
Oh,
you're saying?
man.
Yeah. Well, because I mean,
Good
I get it. Like what you're saying. I mean, if
Winter
you're
ball's the
from
real
there,
deal.
it is the real
It
deal.
is.
But also, if you're like someone like Ronald, you're in the prime of your career, you're a huge deal, and he knows the impact that he's making in his country when he's playing over there. But then for him to then go to Venezuela, that he's packing the place, people are watching. It makes it that much more crazy when the best freaking player in the sport, or top three, whatever you want to call it, is playing at home in Venezuela.
And God
right
bless
after.
him. God bless him too, man. If he wants to do it, great. It's going to make you wonder now in some contracts coming up, like, hey, listen, no winter ball at the bottom. I don't. Yeah,
He'll fight it. He'll fight it.
It makes you worry, but at the same time, this is what the kid wants to do, man. And God, good for him, representing where he's from, still going after it. Is there going to be a little downtime for him? Not as much anymore. So it's like, all right, we'll go right into the next season. So we'll see how that goes. Kratzy, you know more about the winter ball than I do. I've never played in winter ball like that. So it's a lot of days.
I mean, dude, you're out there playing. Ronald, from the little bit that I know about him, he's not hitting the weight room like some dudes do. So this is his way of ramping it up. This is his way of getting ready, and right into the environment, into the fact that he's ready to rock is awesome. But it's one of those things that if you're a player as a fringe player, especially fringe in big leagues, if you're not going to winter ball, to me, you're leaving money on the table in the sense of like your ability to play in big games. Because fringe players, you're always trying to figure out how to stick in the big leagues. The best way is the moment's not too big for you, and you're learning that in winter ball, night in and night out. Whether you're a pitcher, whether you are a position player, they're platooning guys, they're double barreling. You're facing the best that they have to offer. Sometimes, right now, let's see, it's November. It's the middle of November. So once Thanksgiving hits, winter ball becomes like it's majority big leaguers and some AAA guys, or a lot of good AAA guys and a smattering of dudes from high A that are just throwing absolute petrol and they have no idea where it's going. So you're getting everything, and it is a competitive environment that if you're a baseball fan and you have the opportunity to go down to DR, Venezuela is a little bit tougher to travel to. Mexico's now big time, and it's really time to you got to get down there and check out a couple games because it's a vibe.
All right, well, let's bring in our friend Corbin Burnes, and we can bring him right into the conversation here too. Corbin, how you doing, dude? Happy off season to you, and your thoughts on the MVP. Obviously, conversation wasn't a conversation this year, but we were just talking about how Acuna freaking wins the MVP, and he's joining everyone from Venezuela because he's still playing ball.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've never played winter ball. I've never really had an interest in playing winter ball, so. For me to only have, what, a 4 or 5 week break before you get back into it seems crazy. But a lot of those Latin players like to play year round and just keep the body going. So good for them.
Yeah, it's insane. It's crazy.
Really is. God bless.
So someone like him too, he certainly doesn't need it.
Yeah,
You're
no.
good. Get some rest. Like I'm sure most teams are like, hey, relax a little bit. You're
Pitchers
good.
especially for their arms.
Yeah, especially arms.
Corbin, we got a lot to get into. I actually want to start with your boy Big Woo, right? So Brandon Woodruff, he's going to either get tendered a contract or figure something out with the Brewers. Obviously, I know none of us know how it's exactly going down, but he could get traded too. So your thoughts on what he's going through right now and how, the next couple of years could look very different from him depending on where he ends up. And we might find that out pretty soon.
Yeah, when he initially went down, early in the year, with the shoulder strain over it was, I felt bad for him just because he was wanting so hard to get back out there. He was throwing the ball well. It was a time that we could really use him before we had Wade got beat up a little bit and some guys got beat up. But then when it happened again at the end of the year, I just felt bad for him. It was just like one of those things that you never want to have go through. Have a teammate go through. So I felt bad for him. I talked to him a couple weeks ago, and he was already on the mend, rehabbing, getting after it. I think he wants more than anyone to get back on that mound and show what he is and show what he can do. And obviously we'll see what happens in the next couple hours with him. But I hope nothing for the best for him. Hopefully he's still in a Brewers uniform and Brewers uniform for a long time. But we'll see what happens.
Okay, so we did find out that Craig Counsell has moved on to the Chicago Cubs and haven't spoken to you since that. So let's just start with your initial reaction and play-by-play during that time period of what happened, because we know he made the phone calls and wanted to be the one to deliver news to everybody.
Yes, I was shocked. Actually, it was my wife that came out and told me. I was out in the gym working out. Our strength coach was over at the house. He comes over a couple days a week and works out with me. And we were waiting for the decision like everyone else was, whether it was going to be us or the Mets. And my wife came out and goes, "Hey, did you see where Counsell just signed?" I was like, "Did he sign with the Mets?" And she goes, "No." And she was like, "You going to the Cubs?" I was like, "No shot. Like, you're just screwing with me," which was kind of, I think, the reaction with everyone. And so that's when I got the phone and started looking at the messages. And maybe 2 minutes after that, after I saw the news, is when he called me and just kind of told me everything that went on and thanked me for the last couple of years and giving him the opportunity because of what we did on the field, gave him that opportunity to take that job. So, kind of cool that you allowed him to be in that situation, but also kind of weird to hear that he was going to the Cubs. But good for him. I'm happy for him. He's setting records, setting precedences for a manager. So you can't be angry at them for that. But definitely a weird couple hours that we went through there.
What's it going to look like? You look over there in their dugout to see who the next pinch hitter is, and you see Counsell over there going. Are you gonna flip him the bird, like for like a little bit, like just one time, like scratch your head with your middle finger?
Nah. I mean, my goal is always to go out and win baseball games and shove it up the other team's ass. That's what I'm. my plan every time I go out there. So it doesn't change that he's over there. Maybe for some of our front office guys and others that were involved in that process. But I think for us as players, we have a job we got to do. It doesn't matter who we're playing, who's managing. You still got to go out and you still got to play baseball that day. And it might be a little weird seeing him in a different dugout, but Murph knows the guy more than anyone, so he's kind of going to be in Counsell's head a little bit as far as game planning, that kind of stuff. Because Murph and Counsell have worked so closely the last 7 or 8 years that I think those two are going to kind of know how each other are thinking through different situations.
Hey, before we get to Murph, my question is, do you think that Counts is being treated fairly by some people in Milwaukee that are pissed that he left, like as if he kind of abandoned the team or something like that, and not maybe understanding how business works? I was surprised because I saw actually plenty of Brewers fans on social being like, damn, it's a manager. It doesn't cost that much. If we really wanted him, we should have kept him, and we had him forever, right? Like, he hit free agency. He's trying to kind of change things because let's be real. Also, there were managers like 20 years ago making more money than anyone else has made in the manager world for a while, and they were trying to bring those down. So I respect him for doing that and kind of representing his peers. Yes, it was not the cleanest way to do it based on how it went with David Ross, but your thoughts on how he's being perceived, because he did a lot for the city.
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways to look at it. You're either going to be on the side of Counts, you betrayed the city for, you've been there for so long, you played there for so long, you grew up there, you lived there. So you're going to take that side of it, or you're going to take the side of, hey, you got an opportunity that is going to be life-changing. If you look at it in a business, in a real world perspective, like, are you going to take the job that's going to pay you a little bit less just because it's more convenient, or do you want to take the chance and go somewhere that you get paid a lot more money? It's still not a terrible situation. You're an hour from home, so it's not like he's moving across the country, and you also get to kind of push the envelope as far as what managers have been paid, what coaches have been paid, and kind of get that going in the right direction. So there's really two ways to look at it. Obviously, you're going to get both from Milwaukee fans, but understandably so. But it's change. I don't think a lot of people like change, but I think with Murph stepping in, it's probably the next best thing as far as the transition, clubhouse wise, staff wise. It's probably the easiest transition.
And that's what I was going to bring up about Murph. He's managed before. He hasn't managed in the big leagues. Been there for 8 years now with Council. What do you see? What do you think are his best attributes? What do you think he's going to bring to the table here from Milwaukee? And I've talked to him a couple of times before games. Just seems like an upstanding guy, funny guy, jokester too as well.
Yeah, he's going to keep it light in the clubhouse. That's what Murph has done really well for us. He's kind of the sounding board for not only the players last couple of years, but Counts as well. To bounce ideas off. He connects with all of us. He's been around the game for so long. He managed the minor leagues. He managed college baseball forever. So he's not afraid to kind of get in your face and say, hey, you're not very good. You suck. You need to pick it up. But then he's also there to pick you up. You have a tough outing, like, hey, these guys just got lucky. Just keep your head down and keep going. So he's definitely a good guy to relate to us. But yeah, he's definitely going to keep it light in the clubhouse. Very even keel guy. Things are going good. Things are going bad. You're never going to know it. He's not going to panic. He's just going to be the right guy, I think, for the situation that we're in. And with a lot of guys returning, I think it's just kind of the easiest transition of not having a ton of turnover at the top. Obviously, him leading the charge now and Ricky coming in to be underneath him will be a little bit of a change. But those guys, Ricky's been around the Brewers for the last couple of years, that it's really not that big of a difference.
Who was over at the house? Was my little brother over at the house? Was Meredith over there watching you on fire?
Yep.
Wow.
Meredith comes over. He kind of does like half the lift. He kind of picks what he wants to do and then just kind of
doesn't do anything.
But I mean, the guy's he's a mannequin basically. He's 6'7".
He's perfectly built. We look exactly the same. We're twins. Sometime we'll get the video. He actually dressed up as me in a catching drill during spring training in 2019, and nobody knew it was me.
I couldn't tell the difference
until he threw with his right hand, and he's left-handed, and he threw. So I'll find that video at some point, and we'll get it on here. It was exciting. But talking about working out, I'm looking at the Cy Young Award here, and not your Cy Young that you so egotistically hung up behind you.
Nice.
It's so nice.
Today's Cy Young Award, because obviously, good for Blake Snell. He won it. But to me, and I've never been in any running for any award, but I look at what you did this season, and I feel like 8th is kind of a slap in the face. Do you think it's because they expect more from you, so when you do some really awesome things, they're like, it's not the best Corbin Burnes? Because you and Zach Gallen are the only ones that had over 200 strikeouts this year, had over 195 innings, and yet Zach Gallen gets 3rd place and you get 8th?
Yeah, so that's it. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there with I won the Cy Young with a 2.4 ERA and all these stats that now when the numbers come down at the end of the year, it kind of turns into, well, yeah, he had a good year, but look at what he won the Cy Young with. So that, that definitely would knock me down a little bit. I look at my year last year, 2022, I had a 2.9 ERA and I was 7th in Cy Young with 230 something strikeouts. Like, it's just one of those things that I'm going to have another unbelievable type of year like I did in 21 to even be in consideration again. But, I think that's just kind of, tip your hat to those guys that have good years this year and last year. But definitely, I think I will always be compared to that year. And that's something that actually I've talked to Yelly about, and also Counts when it happens. Like, Yelly went out and had a great year again this year, and he didn't get any MVP votes, but probably should have got at least a couple. But he gets compared to his 18 and 19 years, and that's just kind of what you got to deal with of having a really good year. And for the rest of our careers, those are the years that we're going to get compared to.
Because of all your success, because of how good you are, I have to ask this next question. Do you keep your bags packed in the off season, wondering, possibly, am I going somewhere? Possibly, where could it be? I know you're going to give the whole, like, we'll see.
Oh, it looks like Kratz. So, Corbin, I'll give you a little context here of why
it's funny.
Why Kratz has such. Oh, there you go. Kratz, I'll just add. So Corbin, Eric was in a professional poker tournament. We didn't think he was going to join us today. He gets bounced, maybe strategically, I don't know, but I'm kidding. But right before the show starts, and then joins us from like the hotel lobby. So that's why Eric's got the crappy Wi-Fi today.
Minor league Wi-Fi.
There you go.
Go ahead, Kratz. We got most of it though, and I can help with it. But Corbin, I mean, do you think that with Counts leaving and Woody's injury and potentially maybe not being with the team, do you think the team might go in a different direction in your mind? And I'm assuming that you're not getting spoken to in the offseason unless there's actually news.
Yes, I don't know. It's been a couple off seasons now that my name is always floated out there. It's something that I've kind of just grown accustomed to now. You try not to read into too much. You hear from all the different sources that we're going to sell, we're keeping everyone. As far as my perspective on it is I got to keep working out, keep training as if I'm going to go back to the Brewers. If I get traded, it's not like I'm going to go play a different game. I still gonna have to go out and pitch and do what I do. So for me, preparation wise, I'm doing the same stuff. I always have. I'm not preparing this for this team. It's just go out and prepare. And if something happens where I'm traded, then so be it. And I'll go out and do what I can. But everything that I've had talked to at the end of the year, everything I'm hearing. I think it's more just the Brewers doing their due diligence and saying, hey, if we get an offer, great. But my perspective and where I'm at is I'm getting ready to be ready to go opening day for the Milwaukee Brewers.
You kind of have an idea of who's out there in free agency. If you take Shohei out, because he's kind of a unicorn, and not kind of, he is. Do you feel like you are the best arm available if the Brewers make you available?
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on if you're a GM, what you're looking at. Obviously, you can go out and spend some money and lock up some guys to long-term deals that could be a huge part of your future. And me, I'm a 1-year rental. It's tough to really value that. I think you see each year guys get traded in the kind of the same situation I'm in, and it's always valued different. Your relievers are valued even differently. You could look at us trading Hader, in the trade deadline a couple years ago. So it's one of those things that it kind of depends on how you're valued by each team and how each team looks at long-term deals versus short-term deals. But I'd like to say I'm up there as far as putting my name in the running for 1 year, the best arm out there. Yeah, I would like to put myself at the top of that list.
Talking about trades and stuff, I've been a part of it too many times, and it's like the first time I ever got traded, I kind of took it personal because I've been there with the Reds. I talked to them about making me a long-term deal. They said they would. 2 weeks later, I got traded. All that kind of stuff. So I just want to get your perspective. Maybe if you do end up getting traded, to understand, like, is that personal to you? Is it something that you might be pissed off about? I'm sure you'll be upset. Don't get me wrong, but it's something like that you're gonna linger with a little bit?
I think if you had asked me that question a couple of years ago, I probably would have said yeah. A little bit upsetting. Thought I was going to be in a Brewers uniform long term. Kind of all those emotions you go with. Now knowing kind of where I'm at in the process and having had some of those conversations with agents and front office with the Brewers, just knowing that hey, we would love to have you long term. It's kind of one of those things that I've priced myself out of Milwaukee. That's kind of what they basically told me is like, look, we love to, but we're not going to, kind of offer you some long term deal that's really just kind of disrespectful kind of thing. So for me, that's I like to hear that, and obviously you like to hear that a team's not going to put out a disrespectful number and kind of tarnish what you've done for them for the last 5 or 6 years. So I respect them for that, but. It'll definitely be weird if you get traded, going to a different team versus the organization that I've been with for 7 or 8 years. But it would definitely be weird, but not heartbreaking as it would have been maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
When does that happen? Like, how does that go? And I respect that too, right? Like, they know that they're not in a financial position to be able to handle that. I mean, I can make a case any team can handle anything. That's another topic for another day. But I might do.
Yeah.
There we go.
Now who's got the minor league Wi-Fi?
Cut it out, big dog.
You guys need to be muted. Shoot, look at me. I'm in a lobby and you can hear me until I start. What do you want to talk about now, Burnsy? Because I didn't have any more questions for you.
I got part of Scott's question, but what do you got, Kratz?
I couldn't even hear Scott's question. What if have you had any contract extension talks with them, with the Brewers?
No, that was never something that we got to. I think that obviously coming off the shortened season in 2020, where I had my first good year, going in after the signing in 21, I think for them it was kind of, hey, wait and see if this was kind of a one-off year, or if they thought this was going to be something that we could possibly explore long term. And then I've just had year after year that have been good, that I think it just got to the point that like, hey, they just know their situation, where they're at in their market size, and instead of making a player angry for sending a bad a really small or short term or low number for an extension, it's just like, hey, we just be upfront and say, hey, we respect what you've done, and we're not gonna come at you with something that we don't feel is what you're worth as far as the market goes. So never really talks there. If I think a couple of years ago, I was probably open to going and getting something done, but I think at this point we just kind of both sides know that hey, we're a year away from free agency. We want to see what the market can bring, we'll see what happens.
That's awesome. That's a great, because I never thought about the fact that if it could hurt your feelings if they bring a low offer. So not necessarily never giving you an offer, but I never thought about that. Now, beginning of this season, when you first came on here, we talked about the arbitration process. Do you feel like you're going into the next arbitration process with, I'll give you 2 choices, still hurt feelings where you're kind of like, all right, I got to go through this again, or you coming in there strutting like a peacock, like, look, I did it again, I balled out, let's sit down, I enjoyed talking to you, and let's get this thing over with?
Yeah, I think it's going in with my head held high. We've had, like you say, we've had 4 good years in a row now. We know what the process is like. There was obviously stuff said on their part last year. There was a learning curve on my part this year of kind of how we can better handle it and not get to that point. But as far as arbitration goes, all you've got is your numbers to back you up. So I feel good with what I've done again this last season, and we'll see how arbitration plays out. But I would predict that this time through won't mirror at all what happened last year.
Hey, my last question here. They talk about the pitch clock now moving from 20 seconds to 18 seconds. Your thoughts on that? Do they just want every pitcher to have to go through a cycle of, making sure they're breathing, their techniques are right? I think 2 seconds, it should have went the other way. But what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a mistake. I don't think what MLB is doing they haven't looked at the repercussions of the pitch clock from last year. They've been telling us on our calls that the injuries are not related to it at all, and there's no spike in injuries. But I think you just look at the injuries we had in general. There's more Tommy Johns going on, than we've ever had. Just the detrimental injuries, I think, are something that is going to be attributed to the pitch clock. If you talk to starting pitchers that have been around the game for a long time, Max Scherzer, Verlander, some of these guys that now all of a sudden are having this pitch clock, and that you just wear out quicker. So it's one of those things that, if you have an extra 2 or 3 seconds on the pitch clock, you have yourself to get an extra breath. I think you're going to limit some of the major injuries. Obviously, some of the minor stuff that pops up here and there. I don't think that's attributed to the pitch clock, but I think some of the long-term year and a half recoveries are due to this pitch clock being so short. And I think shortening it even more would cause even more damage. So, I understand they're trying to cut 7 more minutes out of the game, but I think you just get to the point where you're like, look, is doing this here or there and risking a guy's career for the next 5 or 6 years really worth it if you're going to start losing some of your star names that are going to go down and lose some interest in the game? Because I saw some stat that attendance and interest in the game was up 9 or 10%. So it's like, are you really trying to gain a couple more percent by knocking off 7 minutes of a game and risking, some of your star players' careers?
So I'll push it forward, just knowing that, they're not going to care. There's a reason why the competition committee is it only has 4 players and there's 6 on the other end. So they're never going to win on any of those topics, right? Regardless of what's right and wrong. So when we push forward, what can the game do, even from like a younger pitcher standpoint, like developing pitchers, to try and adjust to this? Like, is there a way that, pitchers should now be preparing themselves for the future to not get hurt? Because the guys that have been in the game for a while, we're going to have Max on, I think, next week, and obviously he's going to be pissed too. But do you think there's anything we can do going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to change how guys train. It's changed how I'm training this offseason. A lot more cardio involved, a lot more sprint work, that kind of stuff, to try and get your body to recover faster, obviously, in that basically 10 to 12 second window. Everyone likes to think of it as it's 15 seconds and it's 20 seconds, and it's really not, because you're delivering the pitch, you're getting the ball back, you're getting back on top of the mound, you're losing a couple seconds there to really have time to take a breath and get your feet back underneath you. It's really only 7 or 8 seconds. So when you look at it, you look at Olympic sprinters and stuff that are sprinting those short distances. They're not going sprint after sprint after sprint. They're getting time to get their breath, let their muscles recover. So obviously it's a little bit different, but being a pitcher, it's an explosive movement over and over and over again. So taking time away for us to get that extra breather, I think it's going to cause more problems than it is going to help to try to cut off another minute or 2 of a game. I think MLB is maybe going a little bit too far with this, and I agree with Todd. It should be the other way. You should be adding a couple seconds without guys on base, because 15 seconds is really short. But like you say, there's 4 of us in the competition committee that we have some pretty good names on there advocating against it, but. When you got 6 owners on there, you kind of are outnumbered.
Yeah, they have no shot. All right, last one, just a number, okay? Or just how many ejections this year? Some fans are asking for Pat Murphy. Give me a number, a guess.
Oh, I've actually had this conversation with him back and forth, so I'm gonna go with 5. My number stands at 5. I'm going
4.5. So
Jackson said 4.5 in the chat. So boom, there you go. I love it. Corbin, good stuff, dude. Great catching up with you. Keep crushing it this off season. We'll catch you probably in a few weeks or something.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Happy holidays, man.
Cheers.
Corbin Burnes with us on FT Live. That was good stuff. And we're going to get into because we haven't had a lot of time yet, but we're going to get into the, pitch clock conversation, how that's going to change. Ken Rosenthal is going to join us in just a second. And Kratz, you had something for Corbin, right? About Rowdy?
I wanted Corb to be informed that Rowdy was doing Pilates. I don't want thin Rowdy showing up and Corbin not having any kind of ammunition. So next time he comes on, we'll have some holiday cheer, we'll have some Christmas eggnog, and we'll make sure that Corbin gets his rowdy fix with Pilates in there.
At some point, maybe we bring them both on together, but solid. We'll see what happens. All right, let's get going right now. Yes, exactly. With Ken Rosenthal. And Ken, wanted to see how you doing. Wanted to see if you heard the back end there of what Corbin was talking about. And as you'd imagine, there's going to be that kind of ongoing battle with especially pitchers not happy about the pitch clock news coming out that it could change. And really, I think the next layer of it is the league set it up so that they can make the changes whenever they want. So I just feel like at some point we got to get the two sides to get along a little better, and they're all looking at it as, well, we're just on the board just to hear things, right? Because we're never going to actually be able to swing a vote on any rules.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote about this today. Last season, there were 10 clarifications issued after opening day, adjustments to the new rules. Most involved the pitch clock, if I'm not mistaken, but not all of them. There were some different things that had to be addressed. And the players feel, and when I say the players, I mean in general, that their concerns were not addressed until later, until those clarifications were issued. And what they're saying now is, why not just address these concerns now so we don't have to issue clarifications once the season starts? Wouldn't that make sense? And I agree with them. So their concerns are being heard. In fact, one of the proposals in there was suggested by Whit Merrifield. But in general, they oppose, a lot of pitchers oppose this idea of going from 20 to 18. And one of the points that was made to me yesterday in preparing the story I wrote about all of the different changes that are being proposed and suggested, the complaint that I heard was, hey, we just had a really successful year. This was undoubtedly a success. Corbin said it too. Everyone agrees that the game is in a better place. Why can't we assemble more data, compile more data, and get to the point where we really know the impact of the clock on pitcher health and maybe have a better idea of how to go forward, rather than take yet another step to reduce the clock, increase the stress on pitchers with runners on base? In my opinion, that's a fair concern. And it has only been 1 year. There's only 1 year of data on this. And let's face it, pitcher injuries are complicated things. You can't blame them solely on the clock. Velocity is the biggest driver of pitcher injuries. Breaking balls are being thrown harder than ever. Fastballs, of course. That's what's going on. But at the same time, why increase the risk? Because it was described to me yesterday, why take a 1% chance that injuries are going to increase for 5 minutes per game? Is that worth the 1% chance of injury? Maybe MLB would say yes. I would suggest that with injuries such a concern across the sport, the answer is no.
Are injuries a concern for owners in the sense that, like, because we saw what happened with football. Now, obviously, those were concussions. We're talking about arm injuries. Is there a committee that is committed to doing this investigation in the sense of, like, because we have a competition committee who clearly thinks that 5 extra minutes cut off a game that's gonna improve it. Have they already started an investigation, or is this something that, okay, well, now that you brought it up, maybe we'll start an investigation, but we're still going to unilaterally make this change?
Well, the 39-page document that the Joint Competition Committee issued, and I got a copy of it, says on the very last page that injuries are definitely a concern, that they're a concern throughout the sport, and they are launching a study to try to get a better grasp of what is going on. Now, where these studies go, who knows? But they're aware. Now, what one player told me, speaking on condition of anonymity, is that Manfred, in his opinion, the commissioner, is speaking out of both sides of his mouth. He wants to take care of starting pitchers. He wants starting pitchers to become more prominent again. They're important for the sport. He recognizes that. And at the same time, by reducing the clock with runners on base from 20 seconds to 18, you are potentially increasing the risk of injury. And those two things do not go together. So there is disagreement on this front. And baseball's point is there has not been any proof that the clock and the injury rate are related. And as the season went on last year, as players became more accustomed to the clock and how to manipulate it, the times of games did increase. That's a valid concern. But my question would be, do we really need to do this right away? And that's the question players are asking.
Talk about a trade that just went down between the Braves and White Sox. I feel like the Braves made out again. I was telling Scott before, it seems like they're starting to be the the Tampa Bay team of the American League, and now they're the National League, the Rays, trying to get these pitchers to come in. Aaron Bummer, really good pitcher, left-handed guy. I know the numbers don't speak of what he can be, but talk to us about that trade and who do you think made out? I think the Braves did.
Actually, Todd, I thought both made out. And when you're the White Sox and you've got a reliever who is part of a group of players that has the most volatile performance in the game, and you can turn that reliever into 5 players, I think you do that every time. And in the Braves' case, some of these players, actually all of them really, were expendable. But for the White Sox, if they get 1 or 2 contributors out of this, decent contributors, maybe Soroka becomes a viable starter. Schuster the same. Nicky Lopez, a good utility infielder. Shoemaker went backwards last year. But if they get a couple of guys out of this that can contribute for them over a longer term, that to me is a good trade for them, the kind of trade that they should be making. Now, from the Braves' perspective, yes, Todd, you're absolutely right. They trade 5 guys that really weren't going to be important contributors for them next season for a guy who can be a very important contributor for them. Aaron Bummer is a top left-handed reliever. His advanced metrics show that. He's been that kind of guy, and they've got him under club control for potentially 3 years. So I really thought both teams made out pretty well here.
I like that. Okay, let's get an update on the Shohei Ohtani market. Your thoughts on what you've been hearing lately and potentially any new suitors in the mix, because he didn't let anyone know where his head was at yesterday because there were technical difficulties for his MVP conference with the reporters.
Well, that was a joke, first of all, and that cannot happen. Here's a guy who has not spoken to the media in months. He wins the MVP, and they can't figure out how to get him to the reporters, can't figure out how the access is going to work, the conference call, whatever it was. That was not good. As for what more we have learned, I don't think we know any more today than we knew a week ago or even a month ago. And it all rests with him. Now, I wrote a little note about how some teams view the Blue Jays as a sleeper here, a potential sleeper. And yeah, that's possible. Toronto, international city, growing Japanese population. They might not be so willing to commit to Guerrero and even Bichette long-term as they were, say, a year ago. And sure, it would make sense for them, left-handed bat. But to me, the teams are going to be the same teams we've been discussing really from the beginning. And guys, it all, to me, comes down to what he wants. If he wants to play for the Los Angeles Dodgers, they'll give him the money he wants. If he wants to play for the Cubs, the Red Sox, name a team, name any team that's in this mix, the money is going to be there, in my opinion. It's just a matter of what his geographic desires are, what his competitive desires are, and where he wants to be. We don't know the answer to that, and we're going to eventually find out the answer to that. But as far as last night, good for him winning unanimous MVP. That was awesome. To do it twice now speaks to who he is as a player. But for whatever happened, I don't know what happened with the conference call, and maybe there was a perfectly valid reason. I would just say it should not have happened.
Ken, I can tell you why there's not a valid reason, okay? And I'm not just going to throw conspiracy theories out there. And I can say with this one, I haven't spoken to anyone about this. This is just common sense, right? If there is technical difficulties with trying to get someone set up tech-wise to speak to reporters, I'll ask you this question. If the league came back to you and said, hey, sorry, Ken, and the dozens of other reporters that didn't get to talk to him, we're going to reschedule it for today. Are you guys cool with talking to Ohtani today, or did we mess up everyone's schedules? They can reschedule this any freaking day.
Absolutely, we're cool with him talking today. And from the beginning, and I don't know if this is Shohei's wish or if it's the wishes of his agent, Nez Balello, if it's just a strategy that CAA has embarked upon. I'm not sure exactly where this is coming from, but they have protected him. They have hit him in some cases, and it works. No one's going to complain too much. He's Shohei Ohtani. He's doing amazing things on the field, and when he's available to us, he's available. But that was a bad look last night, in my opinion, and in general, some of the decisions that have been made here, I do question. For instance, when the surgery was announced, they would not announce what kind of surgery it was. Now, the doctor said some things and made a statement, but it still has not officially been out there, whether it's Tommy John with an internal brace, whether it's some other procedure. Los Angeles Times has reported it was Tommy John. Why are we hiding the ball here? The teams are going to have to know at some point. You have to tell them if you're asking them for $500 million. So why can't the public know? And I just think that sometimes players in general are overmanaged. This guy's getting overmanaged, in my opinion.
Hey, Ken, are you going to be the cause of a team not signing Ohtani? Because if you put something online saying this team is talking to Ohtani, he said he's going to be pissed off and not have a decision made with that team, I heard. So you got to be careful, right?
I have not heard that, Todd, and I seriously doubt anything I write is going to affect this decision.
Hey, he said it.
He didn't
Exactly.
say it, but there was a report, yes.
Report.
And so, again, I think it just plays to what Ken's talking about. Relax. This is not the CIA. Like, come on. A little more transparency here. That's the same thing. One side of us is like, he's amazing. We love and respect the hell out of the player, and we know he's busy as hell during the season. But it's getting a little helicopter parent-ish for everyone.
I agree.
In how far it's going.
Scott, he has every right to do whatever he wants, and I get that. There is, however, a responsibility that comes with being one of the best players. And what his next team will face, if this continues, is a situation where reporters are going to his teammates and asking them questions about Ohtani if Ohtani is not willing to answer questions. Now, fans say all the time, well, you guys should leave the players alone. Yeah, that's fine. That's a good thing to think about when you're 500 miles away and when it's not your job. But here's the problem that exists in a clubhouse when that happens, and you guys can speak to this. When one player won't talk, the burden falls to other players. That is a problem, and it's not being a good teammate in that situation. So Ohtani's gotten away with speaking just after his starts. It's been fine. No one's really had major complaints. But I would imagine if I were a team committing that kind of money to him and basically making him the face of my brand, I would want a little more. And it's going to be really interesting to see if he's willing to give a little more, because this has worked for him. And we all understand he works in a different level than other players do because he's doing two things. Everybody knows that. You can't talk to him every day. He's busy, man, before games. But at the same time, there's got to be a happy medium here, in my opinion.
Yeah, and your colleagues, Sam Blum at The Athletic, said it's been since August 9th. So we just want to hear from you, Shohei, even if it's like not the craziest, conversation. So on the topic of crazy, let's finish with the Oakland A's here. So I'll go right to this quote because we've covered this story quite a bit the last few days, but haven't spoken to you since the news became official that obviously the voters were unanimous. Bill Shaken put up this quote from Rob Manfred's press conference from yesterday on Fisher. Over the long haul, yes, I think he has been a good owner. Do you agree?
No. And this failure of the A's to stay in Oakland and the inability to get something done there, everyone is blaming, or everyone being MLB and Fisher, is blaming Oakland for this. And I'm sure Oakland was not, at times, the most willing and able partner. But the way he ran the franchise down, the way this has all gone down, I'm sorry, you cannot say he is a good owner. Now, if you're Rob Manfred and you're employed by the owners, that's what you're going to say. And I don't recall that I've heard yet a crossword from Manfred about any owner. It just doesn't happen. And as much as we would like it to happen, the reality is he works for those guys. So he's going to defend those guys. He's going to be their shield. But that comment, as are some of the comments by Fisher over the last few days, is not being taken seriously by anyone who's paying attention here. Anyone who's paying attention here knows the way this franchise has been run over the years. And while they were successful at times, very successful at times, and that is on John Fisher's record, what happened lately in the last, 5 years to lead to this moment, to me, it's a bit unforgivable. And this should not have happened. And I don't know that it's going to be good for baseball that it did happen. I want to see how going to a team in a much smaller market is going to benefit this club long term. I want to see how this all works out for them. They've got all these grandiose plans. Okay, let's see if it happens. Let's see how they fare. Let's see if he increases payroll, if the revenues increase, or let's see if John Fisher just acts like John Fisher has acted for quite some time now.
So let me follow up. Last one for you on the A's here. how much has this hurt? I've been using this word a lot lately. The brand of the franchise, because I've been saying, I'm sorry, Vegas, you're dealing with a really bad owner. So I hope that he sells is the best thing for you, because I want you to have fun with your baseball team and not be, kind of ruined by this. And for the brand of the game, which you kind of touched on already, but for baseball itself. I mean, even in the press release that I read yesterday, and it was long from Fisher, he says like, oh, we tried to get it done with private financing. And then like two paragraphs later, he's like, oh, the city didn't come through. I'm like, are you trying to fool people within the same press release? It's just, to me, it's gotten so ridiculous. It was either him or Caval who said it'll make money for Vegas and that'll get reinvested into schools. Like they've gotten so out of hand.
That's
never
ridiculous. Happened in the history of public finance stadiums. Not happening.
So it's offensive.
That's a ridiculous statement. Yeah, I understand. But Fisher, to me, he's under the gun here, so to speak. He needs to prove that he is going to make this work. And every time I've asked MLB about Oakland and the negotiations with Oakland and people in the game, other ownership types, they have been consistent, rightly or wrongly, in saying it just couldn't work there. Okay, maybe it just couldn't work there, but I don't know that their best foot was put forward. Put a better product on the field, maybe you get more fans, who knows what happens. But the whole thing has just left a sour taste in a lot of people's minds. And you asked Scott about the brand and the brand of Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball is not going to suffer much with this. The brand is what it is, and it takes a little bit of a dent here. It will take a bigger dent if this does not succeed, and there's no guarantee of success here by any stretch of the imagination. The A's brand, on the other hand, that has taken a dent. And if I'm a fan in Las Vegas, I'm deeply suspicious of what's coming my way. I want to see proof that you're going to put a competitive team on the field before I give you my dollars and all these tourism dollars that they're expecting. Okay, maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But they're ultimately going to be held to the standard of success. That is not a standard that they have been willing to meet in recent seasons. They've gone backwards. They had one of the best management teams in baseball, and a management team that was getting it done without much resources, and even that group couldn't get it done with what they gave them. So we'll see. We will see what happens here.
And thanks for obviously, being strong on this. And I'll just tell you, Ken, I spoke to some people, and I'm going to continue to poll them. A's fans are not following the team, many of them. I was saying, I grew up a Nets fan, and when they moved to Brooklyn, it wasn't like all messed up like this. I just was like, I don't feel the same connection to them.
I'm with you, dude. That's funny.
People don't realize, and then unless they're going to be Giants fans, we will lose fans in the sport. Like, that's real in my mind. So
no doubt that's real. And again, in the long run, if Vegas succeeds, it's all a wash, I guess. But
sure.
Again, we've talked about this for months. I've written about it. The way this all went down, not a good look.
No. Yeah, I'm pissed. Ken, thank you. Besides that, though, have a nice weekend. We'll look forward to seeing any trades popping up.
You too, guys. Take care.
Appreciate you. Ken Rosenthal with us on FT Live. Do you feel that way?
I did, man.
So I'm Jersey.
Keith
I used
Van
to go
Horn,
to games
Steph
there.
Marbury.
Exactly.
Jay Kidd.
And it wasn't ugly the way it went down. It wasn't like
this. It just happened. And I'm like, there goes another
like,
team out of New Jersey. I'm like, oh, weird.
That for me, it took away from my NBA fandom, and it definitely took away from my Nets fandom. I'm not rooting against them, but I'm not sitting there like, oh, this is my squad.
Yeah,
it never felt the same, and it was like a very natural breakup.
It just went away.
Like, they're in Brooklyn. Like, okay, cool. I like Brooklyn, but it's not Jersey for me.
Lost me again. Yep.
So exactly. I think that's going to happen. I really do, and I'm already hearing it because once we started, we asked our guy yesterday that we had on it. Scott Osler, and he was like, yeah, that's a good point. And I asked a couple of people since then, and they're like, no, I'm not going to be a fan of the Vegas A's living in Oakland now. I was like, are you going to be a Giants fan? They're like, I can't be a Giants fan. So I'm like, okay,
there you go.
Just saying, if you don't have a team and you're a fan, it hurts. So could have had a Vegas team and an Oakland team, but here we are. Want to hit That's What He Said?
Let's hit it.
Let's do it. So the saga continues, but I think got cleaned up quite a bit here. And I do respect that with Brian Cashman readdressing his thoughts on Giancarlo Stanton. So, and I'll give credit here. He said, quote, I value Giancarlo Stanton as a player. Without a doubt, he's one of the big drivers when we do win. He's one of the few players you bring to New York that hasn't backed down, that has handled himself in a professional manner through thick and thin. He's one of the few players that, when the money's on the line, if you look at his postseason numbers, it's pretty impressive. He's a gifted, talented player. He's a feared hitter. We'd love to be able to deploy him at all times. And behind the scenes, I think they were also trying to find out, I don't know if there was a quote on it, but if it would affect the Yamamoto situation, because he has the same agent, and Joel Wolf, who's the rep for both of them, is not going to come out firing, was pretty pointed in his comments that he doesn't appreciate the GM of a current player like that, saying, forget it, he can't stay on the field. Even though it is real talk, plenty of people can say it. It's just weird coming from a front office person. I like real talk, so you get a little bit conflicted with all of this, but at the same time, I mean, you work for the team. Like that's taking it too far. So it sounded like he kind of just made up for it without an apology that I've seen officially, but maybe that's not what happens here. I don't know, Kratz. I think the one other thing that could have been added is, hey, my bad. If my words were misconstrued there, that's on me. Or hey, I shouldn't have said that. No?
Or hey, I stand by what I said, but I still think he's a good player. Or I'm not saying that's what he should.
But if you say it,
I'm just saying.
We can say that. Most people can say that.
He's like, listen, it might have been taken out of context. He's been injured for sure. But yes, this is what I still believe in him. Something like that. If that's where he was trying to go. There's no apology. It's just he's talking how good he is now. So it's what is going on here, bro?
He might have been ... but he's only playing 60 games next year.
This is crazy. Hey,
Kratz?
Either way, what are you going to do?
I don't think he has to put any apologies out there. He's got G's number. He can talk to G. He doesn't need to tell Brian Hoke, hey, make sure, I apologize to Giancarlo Stanton and all the words I said. No, he's got his number. Apologies are for man to man, not man to media to man. So I think what he said, he hasn't, tell me if he's lied. Anything that he said, tell me if he has lied in the whole Giancarlo Stanton thing.
No, of course not.
Nothing. And that's what we want. We want honesty. What if all GMs talked like this?
It would be kind of wild. I'll tell you, actually, you want to know the answer? We'd bring them on the show. Because we'll bring some on in the wintertime, but I've talked about this. Most of them are programmed as bots now too, and they don't really say anything about anything. So I get what you're saying.
So
that's why I'm conflicted. No, it is what we want, but
you hurt Giancarlo's feelings? G knows that.
He's not hurt.
He's not hurt. Yeah, I mean, he probably isn't like, oh, cool, thanks for putting my biz out there. You don't have to put my business out there, but I don't when people talk about getting booed at a stadium, I don't know of anybody that's ever gotten booed and was like, man, I actually did really good in that situation. Maybe overall you feel like, you shouldn't be booed because of what you've done, Judgy hitting 62 dingers, and then in the playoffs they booed him. He wouldn't have sat there and been like, guys, I did so good in the playoffs. Why are these guys booing me? He knew he didn't do well. Now, he could say overall he didn't, he did not deserve to be booed. But that's the same thing with G there. He's not sitting there going, hey, man, I'm just going to get hurt. So that's my life. No, he's not saying that. But he knows he's been hurt. And I'm sure he's working at it.
I'll
try to figure out
this.
whatever he can do if there's something he can do.
Yeah, and Kratz, there are some GMs who have talked about players not being able to stay on the field. Hey, we got to get this guy on the field more consistently, whatever. I think clearly either G or his rep were pissed about it because you got a statement back from them, which you usually wouldn't get. Mm-hmm. I think the part that probably rubbed them the wrong way was we know he's going to get hurt, for this coming season. You're projecting versus going in the past. So maybe because I was trying to think of how to phrase it correctly. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing. Someone else can say that. But if you're the dude who's running the team and you're already saying the guy's going to get hurt next year, even if, there's a pretty high percentage chance that you're right based on the injury history. I actually have heard front office people in the past say, hey, we got to just figure out a way to keep him on the field because when we
that's
do,
the simple answer.
we got it.
That's the
but
simple
that
answer.
It was the way it was said, which I still think might have been just coming off a tough week for him in terms of how he was addressing a lot of topics. But he's going to get hurt next year. Like, I don't know. Kratz, you're a real talker. Is that how? If we were getting you as a front office dude, if you were running any team, and we asked you about a player that's hurt all the time, would you? I know you wouldn't phrase it that way. You might phrase it the way I just said, wouldn't you? Hey, this dude's been hurt a lot. It sucks because we want him on the field. So let's figure that out. Not, well, we know he's going to be hurt.
Adjust accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, hinting around what people are saying, you got to know the person too. Like, you can't just come. Like, I think that's something that's funny. A lot of people in media don't know Giancarlo Stanton. They don't really know Cashman and how they talk. And so I think you saw a candid moment from Cashman. No, I would not have said it the way he did, but he was being real. And I think if G was like standing there when he said that, he would have been like, what? Like, these are two men that can talk about this. ¿Cómo? ¿Cómo se dice? And they can talk about it. So, no, I probably wouldn't have. But I would definitely, because of what we're doing here on this show, I encourage guys to be okay with being real when they talk, because it's okay to ask for forgiveness in this situation. He wasn't questioning his work ethic. He wasn't questioning. He was stating it probably a little bit too coarsely. He wasn't stating anything that was a lie about G. He just, he could have minced his words a little bit better. But then it gets to the whole point of what you said, Scott. Like, sometimes these guys get up there and they're like, well, we just want to make sure that everybody stays on the field and we try our best.
You're right. You're spot on there. No, I want more real. I want, Perry Manasian, the GM of the Angels, telling me about how he really feels about Anthony Rendon right now. Like, I want some of that, some of that heat on what's going on. Yeah, the transparency actually would help on some fronts, especially when the situations are murky. So I'm with you. All right, let's slap. Kratz hats. What do you got something for us today? Even no way. Oh wait, you're muted, Kratz. You're muted.
It's the same hat that I wore yesterday. I should have.
Nice.
I had a second hat. I had a second hat in my car, and I forgot to get it. So instead of my Kratz hats, I want to drop a little bit of Ken Rosenthal conspiracy that I wrote down. He said Ohtani possibly to the Blue Jays. Do you think that could be like a ploy for the younger guys, maybe contract extensions? Like, hey, if you guys don't sign these extensions we have out to you, Bichette, Vladdy, we're going to go ahead and spend that money on Ohtani, and then you have no contract extension. Maybe? Conspiracy theory?
Maybe.
Well, we know he's
I
not
don't know.
going to the
I
Blue
feel
Jays
like
now.
they've got enough swag that are like, okay, I'm good. And also, how about this? Maybe conspiracy theory back at you. Maybe one or both of them don't want to be there anymore. There's a chance that that's the case. No? I don't know enough about the situation, but I feel like Bo's got a lot of swag. He's going to be a good player in the league for a while. I feel like you come back at him, I'd be like, okay, you don't like me that much, and I don't like the offer you're giving me? Go ahead. Go sign Ohtani. I also think even from the player and the rep perspective for those two guys, for example, Kratz, still think it's a pretty lofty shot that the Blue Jays are going to outspend most people. They just haven't operated like that. They operate nicely, but they don't operate at the top, It would be smart for them to do that, but I don't know. I don't see. You think Ohtani to Toronto? Hard to see that.
This is the team that I feel like people don't understand how their money can fluctuate. The Canadian dollar fluctuates. They have an opportunity to spend a little bit more. They have an opportunity to mitigate that Canadian dollar fluctuation down. They have an opportunity to make some of that money back.
Kratz, you're breaking up, dude.
Maybe
so,
I'm frozen
yeah,
here.
you're
Maybe you guys
freezing
can't
up.
hear me.
So let's do this. Save that thought. We'll bring it into next week or soon. And lastly, let's do our candy giveaway. The winner of a Kyle Tucker signed baseball plus a digital collectible from Candy Digital is Vic. Congratulations, Vic. Vic's a Yanks fan.
Let's go.
Nice little backdrop. I'm sure Frage liked it.
Beautiful. Congrats, brother.
Good stuff, Vic. It was very simple. You follow us and Candy. You retweet the post. We announced it a few days ago that we were going to run this, and one person was going to have a chance to win it. They just did. Vic, congratulations. Hit us up, and we'll send you the goodies, both digitally and physically. Appreciate everyone for joining us this week, and want to wish a good luck to the FT fam participating in the Pong tourney on Saturday. We'll report back. We'll take some picks and bids. There'll be a lot from the FT team for Todd Father's big fundraiser. So
let's go, baby.
We'll be back, though, also for everyone to know. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we got shows leading up to Thanksgiving. And Todd Father's going to be with us early next week.
Yes, sir.
And I mentioned a name, a pretty big one that I think is going to join us next week as well. I'll say it, whatever. I think Max Scherzer's coming on. I think Monday. So get ready for that. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.
See you.